Hey, welcome to the Plug Into Your Life podcast. I have Carrie in the house. I'm so excited to dive into this conversation because, as you guys know, I just love transformation. And I myself have gone through a huge transformation in my own life. And when I discovered that there are things in this world that are unexplainable or just things that you can do in life that empower people and yourself, and this transformation from something to something else, like this big cocoon, I believe, is so empowering to hear stories. And Carrie has an incredible story, still going through it a little bit, but uh, she's a licensed massage therapist. You've a yoga instructor. You do Reiki. You also are in kines. I don't even know how to pronounce it. Kines.
Kinesiology.
Yeah,
Kinesiology.
anatomy and all kinds of good stuff that just helps people, serves people, and you're just really in tune with yourself and your life and your body.
hmm
Sometimes, I'm just kidding.
Most of the time now, but
Yeah, but could you share with us, what was your life like before you got into all these things, and then how, what it was like getting into that stuff and what
yeah.
happened?
I think getting into it would probably be when I first found yoga. So pre-yoga, I guess. It's really hard to think about this now because I've been doing all this stuff in therapy and like going back to my childhood. So I'm trying to think about it objectively. But kind of a rough childhood, like parents divorced, all that kind of stuff. Went through high school, didn't really know what I wanted to do, went to college, started college, didn't know what I wanted to do, dropped out of college because I was like, why am I here? I'm just wasting my time. No one even cares that I'm here. Like,
Mm.
so I went and got into the working world and started in the restaurant industry. And I kind of just lost myself for a while, or, maybe I lost myself throughout high school, but just kind of keeping up with my friends, going out, drinking, making money, doing it all over again. And met really great people and had really great times and supported myself and went lots of great vacations. But the years went by. I moved down to the beach. I started bartending down here, and eventually, one of my managers introduced me to yoga. And so I started doing it maybe about a year, and it kind of started to open my eyes of I've never even had a relationship with myself before.
Mm.
Like, and yoga just gave me this big concept. You can have a relationship with yourself, and then what the fuck does that mean? Like,
As
it
I was
just
just
opened.
actually gonna say, well, can you describe having a relationship with yourself? What does that mean?
It just means like knowing yourself, even bothering to question, what do I like? What do I not like? Why do I feel this way? What caused me to feel this way? Like, how do I feel? Journaling. Like, hadn't done that. I don't say never, but I used to do it when I was little, picked it back up again. So just kind of getting to know yourself on a deeper level. I had never really done that before. No one had asked me to do that before.
Mm.
I was introduced to yoga. And then once I started kind of learning about myself, I started questioning my daily habits and patterns, and kind of looking like, do I want to do this forever? Do I want it to go in a different direction? And then I was really struggling to want to be in the restaurant industry because I just didn't want that life anymore. Um, Based off of like deciding like, what do I want? What do I not want? So thanks to yoga. And then I started my yoga teacher training. I finished that, started teaching, still was in the restaurant, but less so. Um, and then got into massage therapy, and basically was able to get out of the restaurant industry between those two things.
Mm.
And then I did find one restaurant that I actually do like to work at. So I worked there for cash for fun because I enjoyed it, but it
Mm.
wasn't like a stay up and party till
Yeah.
closing type of restaurant. So as the years went by, it brought me to kind of this, like, my business was going really well. I was doing really well as a yoga teacher. Everything that just kind of was coming to this And I just gotten out of this relationship with my ex-fiance, and I was just ready to like be good, getting my life back together. Like everything was going really well. And then I had this major accident happen,
Yeah, it's funny
which,
how like things like in my
yep,
life, anyways, things seem to be going really well, and it's like boom. It's
yep.
like
I
yeah,
was like, man, I felt like, when the dust settles, I felt like the dust was just starting to settle and everything was like right where it was supposed to be. But then the universe had obviously a major lesson for me to learn or something.
now sorry to cut you off, but before we dive into that, I just want to
Uh-huh.
go over like so that initial transition because I feel like a lot of people are going through this where
Yeah.
it's really common too to like be going to school or be doing something
Mhm.
like that, and all of a sudden you're like, oh, this isn't for me, or I don't know who I am or what I want to do.
Yeah.
But when you said you kind of got invited to yoga,
Hmm.
how did yoga impact your life? Like what? Because I feel like there's a lot of people that don't try yoga. Like I know
Yeah.
when I've gone in, you know, there's no hardly any guys. It's
Yeah,
like
I
I've only
know,
done
I
it a couple times,
know.
only a couple times, but it
Well, so
actually.
then like, you go and you're a guy that wants to go and you see there's no other guys, you're not really motivated to come back. Like,
Well, I mean, it wasn't bad. It was just, I
yeah.
mean, being around a bunch of
Right.
girls. I mean, it's not a bad thing, but
Yeah. That too.
you do have this sense of like it's a feminine thing, but honestly, um, and I'd love to hear your take on like how that impacted your life. But it seemed to be more of like just being in tune with yourself, like you said, having a relationship with yourself. How did
Mhm.
yoga impact that? Um,
Um, it was an athletic practice and I was always an athlete. So that's what kind of made me feel like I like this. I want to try it again. But what really made me stick with it and really fall in love with it was the philosophy around it, that it wasn't just a workout class like any other workout class would be. And it was more, yeah, just like I said, no one had ever, like, I remember a time in the early classes before I ever taught or anything where they asked something like, name 10 things that you love. And then the teacher was like, did you put yourself anywhere on that list? And I was like, no,
oh
I
yeah.
didn't. And it was a lot of stuff like that, which I'd never been introduced to. I grew up in the church a little bit and walked away from that because it just didn't feel right to me.
Hmm.
And then yoga came back and I was like, oh, this feels right. Having a relationship with myself, figuring myself out, like just putting myself first, learning to love myself, all those things. And it was really confusing and really scary because when you start to wake up to these things, then you start to want to change your life, as I said, and not everything is going to go with you or stay the same. So you're going to lose some things and some things are going to change.
Wow, yeah. And it's interesting that you talk about that with yoga practice because it's not really something that people think. Well, for me, anyways, I don't think about all that when I think of yoga. I think, oh, stretching and moving around.
Right.
But it's,
I
yeah,
took
like,
it to heart, I guess, or I needed it. I don't know.
yeah, I mean, it was, yeah, just the couple times I've gone, it has been that experience where you're really just kind of, the sensations that you're having when you're moving are causing you to tune into your body
Yeah.
in a way that you normally don't do.
Never had before.
Mm.
Even being an athlete, like they don't, like, yeah, they tell you to breathe certain ways, but they don't tell you to like listen and follow and like be friends with all that
Mm.
stuff.
And yoga, I don't have any education in yoga, but yoga isn't really about the movements, right? It's more about the
No.
energy in your body and your body. I think back in the day they would go into these poses, but it was really this shift inside of the energy, and it just caused the body to move around.
Yeah, that's one way, a really good way to describe it. Basically, the poses, the postures, and like one, all the postures were created for athletic male bodies. So that's why you see these older, crazy postures and why yoga has shifted so much
Mm.
physically. And then B, all those postures were created and all these movements so that you could sit in meditation comfortably for longer periods of time. So
Oh,
the postures are actually meant to prepare you to be able to sit, because then you move like you said, move the energy around, open everything up, get everything ready, and then you're able to come and sit.
that's
So,
interesting.
yeah,
Yeah. Hmm. I know when I started meditation, it was so challenging to just sit.
just sit down.
Yeah.
But when you kind of move around or you're tired and then you've like exhausted yourself. So that was like
Hmm.
something that stood out to me too, I think, from it.
Yeah, that's interesting. I never thought about that, but I can see, yeah, where that fits in. And
Yeah.
cool. So, okay, so everything's going great. You had this big accident. You
Yeah.
shattered, I'll let you tell the story, but you shattered your ankles. You, what, messed up your
So,
spine?
yeah. Yes. Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, all simultaneously, both my ankles were shattered and an L2 burst fracture. So my L2 vertebrae first, and then a little piece of that pressed into my spinal cord, which caused an incomplete spinal cord injury. So it's not severed, which is why I do have lower body movement. And fingers crossed, things are still continuing to come back. But
Yeah.
basically, the spinal cord swells, and that creates, the numbness and the inability to stand and walk and all that stuff. So, I was in the hospital for 2 months during COVID, so no one could come visit me.
Oh my gosh.
My ankles were broken, so we couldn't even test if I was going to be able to stand up or not, because I couldn't stand on my ankles, whether I had a spinal cord injury or not. Um, yeah, so I did a lot of PT just to find movement in the lower body, not even stand up. And then we eventually found out I could stand up. I went back to PT, like inpatient, and learned how to walk again. And then I started outpatient PT at the University of Delaware. And then I finished that, and not, well, not finished, but like long-term PT. Moved back to the beach in November, started working with my personal trainer and started teaching again. Sounds really simple, but that whole year of all that happening was a lot.
Yeah, so if there's someone listening right now that is going through like a traumatic experience like that,
Hmm.
I can only imagine like the emotions and the fear and the doubt and the all this
Yeah.
stuff going on. Do you mind diving into that a little bit and
I
how?
mean, it was really scary. It's hard to say, because I immediately knew I was like blessed that I had all these tools from yoga and
Mm,
meditation already like in my tool belt. So when I woke up and had to basically accept this crazy situation right away, I think it was easier for me to accept it and like think about planning for the future than it would be for some people, just because I got lucky and I knew all this stuff already. But I would say make sure you have support, whether you think you need a therapist or not. You will at some point. So it's better to like find someone and create a relationship with them.
mm.
Um, and then just know that like you are the one that's in charge of your body. No one else knows what's going on other than you. No one knows better than you. Like they're going to tell you what you can and can't do and all this stuff. But I would just say don't, like, just trust yourself more than anyone else, and let yourself be sad. And it's normal to be sad and depressed when your life changes. Like, it's normal. Let yourself feel all of that.
Mm.
Like, don't get down, and just go slow and take rest, and don't force yourself to jump back into life before you're ready, basically.
Yeah, and you mentioned a therapist too, and I mean, some of the greatest leaders or people in the planet have people beside them that they trust, that
Hmm.
they confide in. And I think
Yes.
a therapist for me has like really allowed myself to have a new perspective on things that are going on in my head.
That's it. Yeah. They don't like fix anything for you. They're basically like an interactive journal. Like,
Yeah, and they can't tell anybody.
you know?
Yeah.
And like you said, they make you think about things in different ways and let you come to the conclusion and make, but like it's someone that you can go to that's neutral. It's not like a family member or friend that's going to like care about you so much and maybe cut you off from feeling your emotion, all that
Yeah.
stuff.
Oh, family.
We know
Family's
all.
supposed to be like this loving, supportive thing. I don't know what happened. Like, where did humanity like? I don't know. Anyways.
I think maybe that's why we come to find our families. You
Mm,
know, some people find them rather than get born into them.
mm. Oh
I mean,
yeah,
a
I
little
like
bit of
that.
both, but
Yeah. Uh, love you, family, for listening to this. You know we got struggles.
yes, everyone knows this.
Yeah.
Nobody's perfect.
Yeah. So yeah, definitely, therapist is so big. I mean, Einstein says you can't solve a problem with the same mind that created the problem.
Love that
So
quote.
how do you elevate out of that state of thinking unless you have a new perspective? And having a therapist or whatever you want to call it, a trusted
Yeah,
person.
someone to
uh,
give you a different perspective.
yeah. And so going through the process of a year of rehabilitation, um, so the only thing I can relate with that is I was on a life support. I got really sick in my lungs and made some bad choices. But coming out of that, I was only in there for like a week, and I
Yeah, so
couldn't.
like think about how you
I
felt.
know I couldn't walk up the steps. I mean, it was so crazy. So
Yeah.
2 months, like I can't
Yeah.
imagine. Like your muscles must have just been
Oh
gone.
my God. It was so sad. And, for everyone that doesn't know me, I'm like one of the most athletic people. Like everything I did before this was movement. Like I taught yoga, I was a bartender, a massage therapist, I was a runner, a rock climber, everything. Like,
Wow.
they were like, what are your, how they ask you, like, what do you like to do for fun? What are your hobbies? And I'm like, don't
Everything.
ask me that because they're all movement. I
Oh
can't
wow.
move right now.
Hmm.
But yeah, the atrophy, watching the atrophy of the muscles. I mean, it was sad. It was really sad and really hard. But like I said, I was lucky enough to know and have worked with my body so much previously. Like I've seen my body do things I didn't think it could do. So like I
Hmm.
knew it could do that again.
Wow.
So you lose a lot of trust in your body. And I don't know, maybe you felt this way too. Like when you feel like it betrayed you, even though that's not what happened, but you just kind of lose trust in your body and like your ability to trust it. um but at the end of the day, I still knew like that it was there.
Hmm.
Like how amazing the body is and how much it can really rebound and come back.
Yeah. Now, was there a moment where you remember where like it was like such a struggle just to move or do anything or get up or, and then like there was
Mhm.
that one day where like all of a sudden you were like, oh, I got better, or like you had this like glimmer of like I can do this, Was there like a, or was it just a
um
gradual pushing yourself?
Definitely gradual pushing yourself because it's really easy to get stuck forever. But I think with the transformation I was doing with my life before this happened, I was already kind of had those muscles of being able to push myself when I didn't want to.
Hmm.
Um, but yeah, there was times like there's one night I was laying in the hospital bed, and this was early on, maybe the first month, and it was like late at night and no one was around and I couldn't sleep. And I was just looking around and I was like, I need to get out of here right now. I need to know if I can stand up. Like, this is bad. Like panic attack almost. Cause I'm like, what if I'm stuck here forever? I have no idea. Like, that was really scary. And just to go through that alone, basically. Um, thank God I had that relationship with myself though. But then like especially now as I've come a long way, I'll be like getting in my car with my walker and I'm like, man, 6 months ago, this was really hard. And now I'm doing it without thinking about it. And it's really little things like I held a cup of tea in my hand and walked across the room without spilling it or holding on to anything. And I was like, that was like 3 steps, but such a huge thing. So it's taking time to reflect and like really appreciate those things, I think, is how you get through it.
Yeah, and I can almost imagine how it would force you to become so grateful for like the littler things, right?
Yeah, you
Hmm.
wouldn't think that your gratitude would grow. And again, maybe because I was already practicing this stuff, but my appreciation for everything in life just grew exponentially. Like
Mm.
just the support I received, how far my body's come over the year, like even though it was really scary and terrible times and really uncertain at the same time, I was supported the whole time. So,
Mm. And then people started to be able to come and see you eventually, right?
yeah. When I got out of the hospital, people were able to come see me. It was really crazy for people to see me like just in bed, barely able to move or stand up.
Wow.
But it
And
was really great to start seeing people.
yeah,
And
you had to do the mask and stuff in the hospital.
yeah. They didn't in your room, they didn't make you wear it. So like you could leave it off. But if I would leave the room to go to PT or something, put it on.
Okay. Mm.
Yeah. So on top of that, I had to wear the masks. I was like, man,
Yeah,
this
very
would happen right now.
I remember when I put my feet in hot water for the first time after like it was like a couple weeks. I bet when you were able to like experience something like that after like
Mm,
months, right?
yeah.
I, it was like it was like a euphoric
Yeah.
like I almost I
It's
had
just, yes. You're like, why? How amazing is this? And it's literally just putting your feet in like hot water, and you're like, oh my God, this is the best thing ever.
I was like, oh my god, oh my god, I love it. I can
That's
imagine what
how
you
it
went through.
felt. Well, because I couldn't shower for the first two
Yeah.
weeks almost. No one, and the only reason my hair got washed was because I was telling someone on the phone, like, man, I don't know when I'm gonna get my hair washed. Like,
Mm,
and a nurse came in and did it for me the next day, which was really nice. But
mm.
couldn't shower for a while.
Wow,
Couldn't get
yeah.
up. I
Of
couldn't even get
course.
out of bed. I couldn't
Yeah.
even get into the chair. And then I had to shower in front of people because I needed help. Like
Wow.
just the level of like humble I mean it sucks because they're just trying to help you and do their best, but you get like all your humanity stripped away from you.
Mm.
And then when you go back out into the world and like normal life and recovery, you kind of have to like reclaim it back for yourself.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah.
Now, so I studied a little bit in like healing and stuff like this, and did did you find yourself like when you focused on all the things that went wrong or the past and like
Hmm.
um, problems, like it made it more difficult to keep pushing forward, or did you find yourself like having to latch on to the possibilities, the future, the what you really wanted to happen? And, like, did you find yourself like constantly taking your mind and like having to change what you were thinking
Switch.
about?
um I think at first it was just me wanting to latch on to the old self, like, and needing to latch on to that identity of who I was before this happened. And then realizing I'm never going to go back to that. So there's nothing to go back to. So there's only something to look forward to.
Mm,
And so it's just taking the healing and saying, it doesn't matter what I was before. There's only what do we have and what can we do moving forward. So it's just I try not to compare it to before because there's nothing to compare to. It's two
mm.
different me's. Like,
Yeah.
so just knowing that, I just take the healing and say, I'll just take anything I can get right now and I'll just work with what I have and start there, which I mean, I guess is a concept I learned in yoga too. But
Wow. I mean that's a important concept I think for anybody struggling, really. I mean,
yeah, it's
kind
hard
of
to start from square one when you see people around you that are square 100, but
mm, but kind of accepting where you're at now and
mhm,
then taking the necessary baby steps really towards the way
yeah,
you want to be.
yeah.
Mm.
I mean, I'm lucky. I didn't really, I guess, technically have any setbacks. Um, there was just periods of time where there was like, no growth, and then there would be something that would change, and then we'd work with it for a while, and then it would kind of stay the same. We'd be like, oh, is this it? And then it would kind of change. So it's just, we don't know. There's no stable foundation. There's no, this is exactly what it is, you know?
Hmm.
So that's what's kind of hard, is still searching, or still wondering like what exactly it's going to be like, because there's no standard.
So now I've seen videos of you doing like a handstand
With
and like,
assistance.
yeah, but I mean, what encouragement? I mean, there's so many people struggling right now with all sorts of different health problems or conditions or
Yeah.
traumatic experiences. But hearing a story of, look, I broke my ankles and my spine and like never gonna walk again, to, you know what, like, let's accept what's going on now. Let's forget about my past and let's move
Just do
forward.
what we can, moving forward.
Yeah, very encouraging. And so all these different things that you're doing, your modalities that you've learned,
Hmm.
so you're getting back into that now, right? Just
Yeah.
taught a class tonight, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's crazy. The yoga teaching, I'd been doing it for maybe 5 or 6 years already before this happened. So that came back pretty easily. And I've been doing it for so long, it's not like I have to practice to be able to teach it. So that's cool.
Yeah, that makes
Um,
sense.
but just being in spaces that force me to move around and get up, like I get up and off the floor pretty easily by myself now. Um, someone was joking, like they were like, yeah, Carrie can balance on her hands better than people can balance on their feet anyway. So this is like normal for her.
Yeah. Oh, that's
A
funny.
lot of it is muscle memory and work that I put in before this accident happened. So I think the biggest thing is, don't let yourself get stuck anywhere. Stay moving, even if that just means it's a 5 minute walk, but do it every day. Stay consistent. Just don't give up on yourself ever. Like,
Hmm.
it's okay if you have to leave and come back to your practice, but always come back to it. Always move, always breathe, always give yourself space. Like,
Wow,
I
that's
don't know.
pretty important. I think a lot of people set these goals of like, whether it be exercise or meditation or yoga or something, and
Mhm.
they're going to do it themselves, and myself included. I'll set this goal of like, I need to do it for an hour or
Right.
half an hour or something, but just starting like little baby steps, I think is important. Like
It's
five
huge.
minutes.
Yes.
Like I can do this for 5 minutes. Like,
You can do
and then
anything
do
for a
it.
minute, three
Mm.
minutes, 5 minutes.
And then building on that, and then eventually you're starting a habit, which I think is more important than completing a
Yes.
whole hour exercise that you're going to be so tired you're not going to do it again.
Yeah, I'm glad we're talking about this, because this is really like when people say, how do you, what? It's the consistency and just building a habit. There are
Mm.
days where I feel like I'm just scraping myself by, can barely get by, but it looks like I'm living healthy just because those are the habits I fall back on now. Like, you know, if you build those healthy habits, even when you're falling apart, they will catch you.
Mm.
So, like you
Wow.
said, even if it's 5 minutes or 3 minutes, like doing it is better than not doing it at all.
Yeah, I think that's a really big one. That's something I just recently learned.
Yeah. Like
Yeah.
consistency or baby steps.
Yeah, consistency
Hmm.
with like short intervals instead of like, well, the
You're
gym,
gonna
like
have this
COVID,
big
I quit
long.
going to the gym for
Yeah.
like, I was working out for like 10 years every day almost. And then, COVID hit and I was like, okay, I don't need to do
We'll take
it.
a
And
break.
but your body loses, like, I think there was a gym owner here that told me that 6 months of working out can be lost in, what did he say? Like a few
Like a
days or a
month or
week
so.
of laying
Yeah.
down or something. Like,
I forget, it's like one day of working out can be lost. I don't, or like 3 days, something like, it's like 3 days of like laying in bed, or working out is like a week of working. I don't know. Yeah,
yeah,
something
it's
like
a crazy number, but all I knew was when I went back to the gym,
that.
I didn't
He
want to
was
do it
right.
anymore.
You're like, ugh, I can't
Yeah,
get the door open.
yeah, yeah, and then
That is
literally,
what I mean. I felt like that when I was first starting to move again, for sure.
yeah, but then like, I got this one app that was like, okay, it's like it starts with, is it, yeah, 3 minutes, I think was the starting of just 3 minutes in
Wow.
the morning.
Just do something for three
I was
minutes.
like, okay, I can do that. And then I started doing, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm actually like sweating.
Once
Like,
you start, then you kind of keep going. But starting is, yeah,
yeah.
that's
And then sure
awesome. You
enough,
were like, yes, I feel good.
yeah. And sure enough, after a few days, I'm like, okay, I can go to 5 minutes. And then before I know it, I'm 10 minutes, 15 minutes. And then I'm like liking it. And the endorphins are
Yeah.
going. And
It's,
oh,
yeah, it's like not forcing yourself into something terrible where you're like, shit, I'm here for an hour. Now I'm never going to go back because that was terrible. And
yeah.
it's
And
like,
then I
oh,
also
I
read
sat for
something.
5 minutes. I actually feel pretty good. I might be able to do it again. And like, then you want to do it.
I started meditation like that too.
Yeah, me
Like,
too. I still do it like that sometimes.
yeah. And you brought up an important point, like in the beginning before we got on, was like, I feel like there's this roller coaster of life where you
Hmm.
feel really great, you're accomplishing all these things, and you have high energy, and then all of a sudden it goes back down, and you're kind of lazy, or you're depressed, or you don't feel like doing anything, or you're grumpy, or whatever it is.
Hmm.
But I've learned to like expect that now. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not always going to be up here, and when I do go down, I don't have to beat myself up over it. Maybe it just means I need to kind of take a step back and take a break from stuff.
Yeah. I think that's like a really great lesson for anyone to learn. It definitely is a great, I don't know, personal development lesson of just allowing yourself to ride the waves. Like you are going to have really great times that are up, like you said, and then just being gentle with yourself when you're down because you know you're going to be up again, like,
Yeah. Hmm.
but if you start to, like you said, beat yourself up, then you go down that path and then you're constantly in your head and always yelling at yourself and it's not good.
Yeah. Now, Carrie, what did you find yourself like latching on to any books or meditations or maybe some type of videos or something that kind of encouraged you that maybe that somebody could check it out today with that stuff?
Um, I did read the book Signs by Laura Lynn Jackson, and that one was really good. Just if you're looking to feel supported by the universe,
Hmm.
that one was really cool. I personally like to listen like daily to like Abraham Hicks, either on YouTube or Spotify. That's always something good to listen to. I did read a lot of books over the summer. I just read actually Braving the Wilderness by Brene Brown, and that's a really good one if you're kind of branching off or starting something new or just
I
standing
think
out
my
on your own.
sister gave me that book for Christmas, actually. I haven't
It's
read
been
it yet.
around for a few years, but I
Hmm.
just got around to reading it. Those are the
Um,
top things I can think of.
all right, cool. And then so you also teach privately and you teach at a studio.
Hmm.
If anybody's interested in reaching out to you, I'll put a link down below, maybe a social media that you guys can reach out to Carrie if you're struggling or you want some support, or maybe just someone that is familiar with what you're going through.
Hmm.
You guys can reach out to her. And I'm also, I read like you have all these different experiences with different yogas.
Yeah.
What in the world is myofascial release
Oh,
yoga?
that's a good one. Myofascial release.
Okay.
So myo is muscle, and fascia is connective tissue within the body. So myofascia, muscle fascia.
Okay.
So it's a form, yeah. So it's a form of self massage, basically, where you use these little like yoga blocks. Of course, I have them right next to my desk, and like these little balls, and basically you can like put them into certain areas of the body, and the way you manipulate them, you manipulate certain muscles.
Oh,
So it's really good for like my private clients that are recovering from injury. I'm just really interested because it feels amazing to, and we are starting to teach it at the studio.
okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so you've got a good background in all these things, and then you also are trained in energy work with
Mhm.
Reiki and stuff. And I think a lot of people that might hear that are like, "What?" Maybe a lot of like emotional stimulus with different words that people use.
Mhm.
But I keep saying this lately. It's like when you walk into a room and somebody's fighting, and they're not doing anything when you walk in, but you can feel that there's a fight going on.
No.
Yeah, that's energy. That's an energetic connection that we all share.
Yeah, that's a good way to get people to like understand what we mean by energy.
Yeah, but all these different things and modalities, I can see how it's allowed you to, get through this.
Hmm.
And so now you're starting to teach again, which must be really exciting.
Yeah.
Um, cool. So we're already getting towards the top of the hour. Is there maybe three things that you could share with someone that may be going through a struggle that you would say that would give them encouragement or tips or something that helped you?
Oh man. Um, I would say this is a hard one, but listen to your gut or figure out how to listen to your gut because no one's going to take better care of yourself than you are. Um, and I guess to second that, like, don't put your life or your decisions or anything in anyone else's hands other than your own. Because when you do that, you give your own power away.
Hmm.
So I think when you're struggling, it's important to realize how powerful you actually are, and that can help you move forward. And then maybe again, the third one, we said it before, but just give yourself grace.
Yeah, I love all that stuff. And also, anybody that made it to the end, we're definitely going to put some links down below and put this down there. But she's willing on doing a discount for a private session with her. And you also do breath work and some other like meditation and things like that. So, an all around, I think
A little bit of everything.
you need all of these little tools, I think, to really encompass or embody loving yourself.
Hmm.
I think it really
Yeah.
does come back to really just tuning into your own body and appreciating your life and,
Your home.
accepting your past and, staying present with yourself.
Yeah. It's not easy. It's like, a daily practice. So
Yeah, and I think the more deeper you dive into it, you realize that it's much more simple than you make it,
that's a
but
good point.
it's
Let's,
not,
yeah.
well, it's not easy at first, right?
It's not, but it is.
Yeah, it's like this weird like paradox.
It's always more simple than we want it to be.
Yeah, I feel like it's like, you're walking through these weeds of your life and you make this path, and all of a sudden one day you're like, well, I want to go over there,
Hmm.
and you got to go through the weeds again, and it's a little
Oh,
uncomfortable at first, right? But eventually
yeah.
you make a new path and it gets easier, and now it's a new way.
It's a new pattern. That's literally what happens when you build brain like neural pathways.
Love it, love it, love it.
Yeah,
All right, so and you say you are supported, right?
you are supported.
Carrie, I just want to thank you so much for being on here and offering your encouragement to people.
Yeah, thanks. It was nice to talk, and I'm glad that people are talking about this kind of stuff.
Yeah, anything I didn't ask you about that you want to share?
I think we'll leave it.
Yeah, I think that was really good, and
I think we're good. Yeah, we covered a lot.
yeah, so thankful for you. Keep going. I see you as whole, healthy, and being a beacon
Yes.
of light to people. And guys, in the meantime, keep plugging into your life and check out Carrie down below. Reach out to her if you guys need some encouragement, some private sessions. She's here in Delaware. Can't wait to connect you guys to her and have a good night.
Thanks.